What up, is Marcus Dynasty Dads? We're going to be doing three things in Dynasty Fantasy Football that are completely pointless and worthless to try to figure out. It is things that actually people, Dynasty owners, will focus on and will actually give value to that I think is completely pointless and worthless. Comment in the box below what you think has absolutely zero value when it comes to Dynasty Football. I'll give you the first one of the three, and it is NFL team schedules. People start seeing these NFL team schedules. They just came out not too long ago, and they start going, oh, this team's going to have a tough schedule. This team's going to have an easy schedule. This team's going to have a medium schedule. Honestly, we don't know. Defenses, NFL's offenses, defenses, injuries, so much can change in a blink of an eye. I remember even when Patrick Mahomes, Vikings were supposed to play Patrick Mahomes, he got hurt, his knee got hurt. All of a sudden we were playing, I think Matt Moore or whatever it was. It was a completely different quarterback. Things can happen just like a blink of an eye. I've put too much stock in this in redraft before, and it's burned me by trading away players that are good, that may even be a little bit better, but have tough schedules, and they dominate tough schedules. Josh Allen has been an example of this. Jameis Winston, when he was in his 30-30 season, it's just like there are plenty of quarterbacks that have had bad schedules that have dominated. And yes, it may have just a slight effect when you start getting into week 10, week 11, week 12, but right now in the offseason, it doesn't matter. I don't look at schedules. It doesn't make any effect on players that I'm ranking, that I'm trading for, that I'm trading away. It does not affect at all right now. Schedules of the NFL season are completely pointless and worthless at this point in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Don't get suckered into it. Even when it comes into week 12, week 13, am I looking at it? Just a hair, but it's almost to the point where I'm just like, it better be something the only thing that makes me go, oh, I might want that person, is if the schedule is absolutely crazy easy, then I'm like, okay, well, maybe I want that running back the last 3-4 weeks. But it is almost worthless. Don't hang up yourself too much with NFL schedules. The next one, and this one is a classic redraft thing, but redraft, you really have short rosters. You only have 5-6 bench spots, maybe even 4 in some leagues. In Dynasty, you have a whole load of players. In fact, a lot of times you have depth running out of your ears. And so bye weeks become less important, a lot less important. You're going to likely have 2, 3, 4 starting quarterbacks on your roster, or 2, 3 quarterbacks on your roster. And if you really want to trade for a bye week quarterback, you can, but a lot of times you're going to have an extra player in that position, or extra player into that spot. Now, yes, if you have 3 quarterbacks and they're all in the same bye week, it has a tiny bit of like, oh, well, maybe I should trade one of them away and try to get a different bye week this year. But again, worst case scenario is you end up sucking it up and you don't have a quarterback for a week. I've played that way, and I've actually won a game or two with a half of a roster, basically, because sometimes when your bye weeks hit you hard, so does it hit your opponent. It hits your opponent just as hard. Bye weeks are so, like, I don't care about them right now. I've already had somebody in one of my leagues go, well, I can't trade for that running back that you want to give up because they both have this bye week, probably. It's like, what? Who cares? Like, there's argument to say if everyone had a bye week on the same week, then you would suck one week and you'd be great the rest of the week, and you'd be 100% the rest of the weeks versus having just slowly be a 90%, 80% roster. Arguments either way, but sometimes it's nice to just peel off the Band-Aid one week and be like, oh, whatever. But again, it doesn't matter. You'll figure it out. You'll have the depth. That's what championships do, especially in Dynasty. There's the good, there's the bad. If you want to beat some of these teams, to get to the playoffs in Dynasty shouldn't be very hard if your league's doing it right. You should have teams that are not competing, and you should have teams that they're basically rebuilding or reloading, and then you have other teams that are in competition mode. And those teams, even with a spot or 2 bye weeks, they should dominate most weeks and get into the playoffs. The last one is don't look too far out into the future. I see this happen too when somebody's looking 8, 10, 12 years down the road. They're like, well, this 21-year-old quarterback, when he's 33, I still want to have him on my roster. A lot of Dynasty leagues fold after 5, 6, 7, 10 years. I think they said 90% of leagues that don't make it 10 years or more. Now, if you're with your buddies and with your family, then maybe you will have it last longer, but it's still, I'm not even, the most I'm really thinking out is probably 5, 6 years out in advance. And that's from the current year. So I'm not thinking 7, 8 years. Now, yes, it'd be nice to have some of these quarterbacks in Superflex for a long period of time, but I'm just thinking of that as the complete 5-6 years. And maybe the wide receiver might not make it 5-6 years, or the running back will probably not make it 5-6 years. So I'm looking at these things not as a 10-year perspective. I see way too many teams go, oh, well, I'm going to win it 4 years down the road. I even saw somebody very, very popular that said that they wanted to sell their entire team for 2022 because they wanted 2023 roster. This was the same person that sold their entire roster in like 2019 because they wanted the 2020 roster. So they sold their entire roster, got great pieces in 2020, started to get into that competing mode in 2021, and now wants to sell their entire roster in 2022 to go into 2023. So you're at 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23. That's 5 years. And now they might sell again. So again, they're constantly thinking, I don't know what they're thinking, honestly. But that's the sidebar there. But yeah, bye weeks, schedule, and thinking way too long. 10 years is just a rough guessing, but like thinking way too far in advance is going to hurt you analytically. It's going to hurt you process-wise. I don't even look at these things until really we're getting into the fine nits and grits and pieces of it right before playoff time. But that's the only time to think about it, and it's not a huge shift. It's just like a tiebreaker. Like, hey, you want one of these two players? I might just look and say, okay, they play against some really crappy teams. Maybe I'll pick this person over this person because I'm going for the championship this year. Something along those lines. Or, hey, that person... And honestly, a lot of times it doesn't even work out. I pick the team with the better schedule, and then the team with the guy with the worst schedule ends up outperforming. That's just what players do. And NFL is so fluctuant with that. I mean, we've seen that. I've seen good quarterbacks have great games against bad defenses. I've seen them also have very horrible games against bad defenses, and great games against good defenses, and bad games against good defenses. So it can fluctuate. It's crazy. That's what I think is worthless, or close to worthless, close to pointless. Tell me what you think is close to worthless, close to pointless when it comes to Dynasty Fantasy Football. Peace out. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.